back to school season exciting for so many families. New backpacks, new teachers, new classrooms, fresh start, school supplies, right? But for some families, it feels completely different. Instead of excitement, it's exchanged for anxiety. Instead of confidence, you see meltdowns. Instead of looking forward to school, your child is already overwhelmed before they've even walked through the door on the first day. Maybe they're crying because their socks feel wrong. Maybe they're covering their ears in the cafeteria. Maybe they're refusing to wear certain clothing, to eat certain foods, or even certain classrooms. And everyone keeps telling you they'll grow out of it. It's just a phase. Don't worry, they're being dramatic. But what if they're not? What if your child is not overreacting? What if their nervous system is? Today, we're talking about sensory processing disorder and why back to school season often brings it to the surface and what is actually happening inside your child's brain and their nervous system. And most importantly, why so many families stay stuck because they never have been shown where these sensory struggles are actually rooted. This video, parents, it's for you who know their child experiences the world differently. Maybe your child melts down over clothing, avoids loud environments, they refuse certain foods, they have a hard time transitioning between activities, seems like they're constantly overwhelmed, or they're constantly seeking movement. You've probably tried sensory bins, weighted blankets, noise canceling headphones. You've tried OT, visual, you've tried scheduling. Some of those things will help, but deep down you're wondering, why my child's nervous system, why is it struggling in the first place? That's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So sensory processing disorder, it's not rare. The current estimates suggest that nearly 1 in 6 children experience sensory processing challenges that significantly impact everyday life. That's millions of children whose nervous systems struggle to organize, filter, and respond appropriately to the world around them. What's even more frustrating, many families spend years searching for answers because these children often appear to be perfectly healthy. Many have age-appropriate intelligence, may perform well in certain environments, but everyday activities become exhausting because their nervous system is it's working overtime. And while sensory challenges often occur alongside of autism, ADHD, or anxiety, they can absolutely exist on their own as well. One of the biggest reasons sensory processing disorder gets missed is because it doesn't look the same in every single child. It's not consistent. Some children are extremely sensitive. Others are constantly seeking more stimulation. So let's go through some of the most common signs. Your child may be extremely sensitive to clothing textures, tags. Often we'll see kids refusing to wear socks, certain fabrics they're going to avoid, or insist on wearing the exact same outfit every day. They may cover their ears during everyday sounds, vacuum cleaners, like hand dryers in the bathrooms, fire alarms if they're going off. A lot of the times we hear toilets flushing, or crowded classrooms with lots of noise. Some children become extremely picky eaters because different textures actually feel overwhelming to their nervous system. So they're gonna seek out comfort in foods that are familiar to them. Others consistently seek input. So we call these sensory seekers. They're climbing, they're jumping, crashing into furniture, always touching everything around them. So some of them are gonna want more of that touching. They're gonna struggle through moments where they have to sit still, like if they're trying to brush their teeth. Nail trimming can be a struggle. Sometimes we're gonna see struggle with handwriting, buttoning clothings, using utensils, running, jumping, or riding a bike. So maybe your child may seem clumsy. So sometimes it's like we have kids that are just scaling movement beautifully. And other times we have some kids that are just struggling within those movement patterns. So they trip often, they bump into walls. That's all I kind of recognize. They kind of have just really poor body awareness. Maybe crowded birthday parties or busy school hallways completely overwhelm them, and they'll go into more of like freeze mode. Transitions become major battles, like if we're trying to leave the playground or if you turn off the iPad, walking into school, right? Just transitioning from a home life to a school life, going to bed. What looks like bad behavior often ends in emotional outbursts because their nervous system simply cannot keep up with all of the information that's coming in. Or perhaps the biggest clue is they have an incredible difficult time calming themselves back down once they've been overwhelmed. If several of these sound familiar, you are certainly not alone. Now let's talk about what's actually happening beneath all of these behaviors, because this isn't simply about behavior. It's about a communication inside of the nervous system. Sensory processing happens in 3 major steps. So step 1, your child's nervous system receives information every second. Millions and millions of pieces of information are coming into their brain. That's sensory input. Touch, movement, sound, light, temperature, balance, their body position. So many things are coming in. Now, step 2, the brain then has to decide. It has to go into this deciding mode. So it says, what matters? What can I safely ignore? A healthy nervous system filters an enormous amount of information automatically. You don't consciously notice your shirt touching your skin all day long. You don't hear every air conditioner, every fluorescent light. You don't have that sensation to or hear it. Every conversation happening around you. Your brain has the ability to filter those things out. Step 3. Once the brain processes that information, it sends an appropriate response back out through the body, that sensory output, that information output. So move, stay still, calm down, pay attention, ignore it, protect yourself. The entire process happens almost instantly. That 3-step process just happens instantly. But when the nervous system isn't communicating efficiently, the brain receives distorted or overwhelming information. So instead of filtering sensory input, everything feels equally important. The tag on the shirt, right? The lights in the classroom, the cafeteria noise, the smells of the lunchroom, the feeling of socks or shoes on your feet, they just feel like a vice grip. The movement of other kids, right, almost makes them hyper aware. Everything arrives at full volume and capacity. And eventually, the nervous system, it just overloads. And the meltdown you see is not the problem. It's the result of a nervous system that's become overwhelmed. Now, in our office, we don't simply ask, how do we reduce behaviors? We ask, why is this child's nervous system struggling to regulate sensory information in the first place? Our focus is identifying patterns of nervous system dysregulation and subluxation, which is disrupting the communication between the brain and the body through the nervous system. When communication through the nervous system becomes inefficient, regulation becomes so much more difficult. Filtering sensory information becomes harder. Recovery from stress takes so much longer. The goal isn't simply to suppress the behaviors. The goal is to help the nervous system function more efficiently, so every child can process everyday life with greater ease. Here's what many parents become frustrated. Traditional medical evaluations are excellent at identifying disease, so infections, structural problems, or sometimes major neurological disorders. but they typically aren't designed to measure how efficiently the autonomic nervous system is regulating itself day after day. Occupational therapy can be incredibly valuable. PT has an incredible role. Speech therapy, we see that helped often. These therapies teach incredible skills and practical strategies. But often parents will tell us, we've learned lots of coping tools, but our child still feels overwhelmed. That's because coping strategies and the nervous system function, they are on two different wavelengths. One helps a child manage symptoms, while the other asks why those symptoms develop in the first place. So if your child struggles every single day with sensory overload, we really encourage you to hear this. You're not imagining it. Your child is not choosing to be difficult. Please hear that. And if you have not failed as a parent, their nervous system may simply be asking for help in a language that most people have not been taught to recognize. That's why every child who walks into our office begins with a neurological insight scan. These scans allow us to evaluate patterns of stress and dysregulation within their nervous system, giving families objective information that can guide next steps in care. For many families, it's the first time they've been able to actually see what may be contributing to their child's challenges. If you've spent months or even years building an entire life around a sensory, workarounds, accommodations, and constant modifications, know there may be another piece of the puzzle that's worth exploring. Our goal isn't simply to help children cope with life. It's to help them experience life with a calmer, more adaptive nervous system. If you'd like to learn more about how neurologically focused chiropractic care and whether it's right fit for your family, click the link in our bio, send us a DM, or reach out to one of our care advocates and schedule a connect call. We'd love to help you discover what's really going on beneath the surface and support your child moving towards a calmer, more connected, and repaired nervous system. We look